Hello and welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm your host, Morgan. Today we need to talk about the proverbial controversial elephant in the energy room. And this particular elephant does not fit into the fossil fuel or the renewable energy category. I'm of course referring to nuclear energy. What exactly is nuclear energy? Well, the quick and dirty of it is that nuclear energy is essentially energy that we get by harnessing the energy that's produced by the decay of usually uranium-235 or U-235. Now, U-235 is what is known as a radioactive isotope of an element. So when U-235 decays, it will release lighter elements as well as neutrons. Now these neutrons can then collide with other U-235 atoms and set off what is known as a nuclear chain reaction. And when this chain reaction is set off, there's also energy released as heat, and power plants use this heat to then produce usable energy, i.e. electricity. Now, nuclear power plants also control this chain reaction, so more or less of the chain reaction going on at the desired times. Now, why exactly is nuclear energy not considered renewable energy, and it's also not considered a fossil fuel-based energy? And this particular question can be a little confusing for people because in some people's minds, it's either a fossil fuel or it's green and renewable, but that's not the case. There's kind of an in-between, and the sort of not fossil fuel does not always mean it's green. So nuclear energy is not a fossil fuel because U-235 is not produced by the decay of organic matter. The coal and the oil that we use to produce energy in the form of fossil fuels kind of comes from this source of primarily prehistoric plant matter that has decayed to the point that it turned into oil or coal. So you're sort of burning prehistoric life when you use fossil fuels. And nuclear energy is not considered renewable because it depends on a finite fuel source, i.e. U-235. And since U-235 is a finite source, it's not renewable in the way that solar or wind energy is. The next question we need to ask, now that we've determined that nuclear is neither renewable nor fossil fuel, is it green or a path to a green future? And the answer to this question is perhaps. Now, some papers do suggest that it may help transition away from fossil fuels in the long run. However, the caveat here is that it does not necessarily produce fewer carbon emissions than fossil fuels. So the follow-up question would be, if it's not necessarily going to end up net producing less carbon emissions, what is the big difference? However, yeah, that would eliminate fossil fuels in some cases. But, and there's a massive but here, nuclear does rely on a finite fuel source. Uranium mining causes a lot of pollution, especially to the waterways around uranium mines. There has been a massive controversy going on in the Grand Canyon area, specifically about uranium mining and the pollution it does to the water in that area. And then the thing I haven't mentioned yet that is a big deal about nuclear is that nuclear power plants present a distinct danger to the surrounding areas. And one very sobering example of this is the Chernobyl disaster of 1986. Now, just because this was a disaster and seemingly a freak accident, no matter how safely we build a nuclear power plant, freak accidents and disasters can happen. So the danger to the surrounding communities and the surrounding ecosystems need to be taken into account, especially since the area around Chernobyl is still radioactive and still presents a danger to anyone that goes into that radioactive zone. So, is nuclear better than renewable energy? Well, based on all the papers I've read, even the ones that say that nuclear can be used as a transition from fossil fuels to sustainable energy, overwhelmingly, no, nuclear is not better than renewable energy. And the reasons for this are because it's not sustainable, because it's not renewable, and it can be very dangerous, both from the mining of the uranium and the pollution that it causes to the waterways and the surrounding ecosystems. Being around any radioactive material, no matter what you're doing with it, is going to be dangerous. And then also, the power plants themselves have that inherent danger no matter how safely they're built. No matter what technology we have, freak accidents can happen. And while the modern nuclear power plants are considered safe, there's still a danger. Now, I don't want anyone who lives within a radius of a nuclear power plant to have any anxiety or panic about it. More likely than not, everything's going to be fine, but it is something that needs to be considered as we have these conversations about a sustainable future and moving away from fossil fuels and hopefully work towards a green new tomorrow. So, should we even use nuclear? Well, I don't know. To kind of wrap things up here, nuclear energy is not a source of renewable energy, and it's not produced by fossil fuels. So it doesn't fit neatly into either of the two main energy boxes that we see in conversation. The mining of the uranium will cause a lot of pollution, specifically to waterways. Nuclear power plants, no matter how safely they are designed, have that inherent risk of disaster because freak accidents can happen and have very massive consequences. So, is the reward worth the risk and the pollution? My personal opinion is that no. Renewable energy such as wind, solar, hydrothermal, wave energy, and all the rest is the way to a sustainable future, and I don't necessarily think that nuclear should even be used as a stepping stone to get there. I think that resources should be funneled into the renewable green energies instead of funneled towards building more nuclear power plants, because ultimately that's not a sustainable source of energy, and there's evidence that the net carbon emission of nuclear may be comparable to the net carbon emissions of fossil fuels. So, I don't have the answers, but nuclear, while it's not a fossil fuel, my opinion is that it's something that we shouldn't necessarily be trying to use in the future. We should still be pushing towards the renewable sources of energy. That's all I really have for you today. I know that this was kind of a short one, but it's something that I really wanted to talk about, and I didn't want to go a whole in-depth discussion of the intricacies of nuclear. I just want it to be kind of surface level. I have linked some interesting studies down below that do talk about the pros and cons of nuclear energy if you are interested in learning more about it. But I do hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, what have you. If you enjoy anything here on the channel, please remember to click that subscribe button, perhaps give me a like, and share your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you again for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell if you would like to see more. And if you'd like to follow me on any of my other social medias, the links are down in the description below. Don't forget to check out thereptilegoth.com for all of my articles and blog posts. If you found any value in this video and you would like to help support the channel, please check out my Patreon page. That link is also in the description down below. And a special thanks goes out to my Diamond Dragon patron, Diane V. What you're doing is really helping me fund a dream here. I will see you guys all in the next one.